Welcome to another Demarcation Media action figure review. Today we are going to be taking a look at another JoyToy figure. This is the Warhammer 40K Orks Squighog Nob on Smasha Squig. Why do the Orks have such weird names like that? They're very weird. Right now, as far as I can tell, and when I say right now, I mean as of the time of the recording of this video, this is the only kind of standard orc that you can get. The rest of them are like commandos, which is a little odd. But yeah, I got this through a trade through the JoyToy Warhammer Discord. So if I can get a link for that, I will put it there. It's been a pretty great place so far. There's a lot of news if like you want to keep up with new releases and stuff. Links to buy, people there that can help you figure out stuff. So yeah, it's been pretty good. And I'm excited to look at this. It's a big set, so like box wise, this is one of the Space Marines. So it's a pretty darn big box. It's got kind of the standard JoyToy design. It just has this little orc symbol. It makes me think of the fantasy era stuff from Lego. Around the back, we get a bunch of views of the figure. Another Orks thing. And yeah, around the side, just another view. So let's go ahead and get this guy open. So this is just like standard hinge box. Slides open like this. And I gotta say, this is heavy. Like, these figures are heavy. Also, side note, if there's any weird noises in the background, it's pouring rain right now. I'm hoping that's not going to cause any audio things, like audio issues, but you never know. But that might cause audio issues. So we have this very Borderlands-looking weapon. This steampunk-looking pistol. This kind of evil-looking snake made out of rivets. Is that a symbol for the Orks? The orc himself looking very much like a fantasy-era goblin. And then the Smasha Squig. Really have no clue about these other than it looks like an evil blurg. Also, it looks like there's reddish scratches where the figure rubbed against the packaging. So I don't know if that was like excess from when the paint was still damp and they put it in, because I think JoyToy does that. But yeah, this thing is big and it is heavy. And it is, yeah, really looking like an evil blurg. So let me get the accessories on here. And, oh wow, he stands up pretty easily. Okay. Oh, well, that's going to cause some audio problems. Thunder. Yeah, let me get the accessories on here and we'll take a closer look. Alrighty, there we go. So I got his accessories in hand. That thing is such a pain to get in the hand. And the way that fist is made, you know, there's this handle up here for him to hang on. Don't really know how I'm going to get him to hold that, but we'll look at that in a minute. Hopefully the thunder has stopped. But yeah, I wanted to kind of give some size comparisons first. So here's the Squig, the Smasha Squig. And he's the real big thing that we're going to be looking at. So here's a Mega Construx figure. Absolutely dwarfed. Like not even anywhere close. Super, super tiny. And then here is the orc. Well, I need to be careful. This little thing on his ear, I saw in, I think it was Awesome Action Toys review. His broke off really easily, so I need to be careful. And then here's a Lego minifigure, just because this orc is very reminiscent to me of these fantasy era goblins. So there is kind of the smaller figures in comparison to these guys. Very, very dwarfed. And then, of course, we got to see a Space Marine, because the Orks are like direct opposition to the Space Marines, like at all times, pretty much. So here is a standard Space Marine who is not wanting to pose quite the way I want him to. Okay, so Orks are big, apparently, because the Space Marine looks kind of small. Not really small, but like they're like the same height, but the orc is so much wider. So they look like they would pair up pretty nicely in a battle diorama. I was a little worried that the Space Marines would look like they would too easily overpower this Ork. And then obviously the Squig is so much bigger. There's no like opening mouth or anything for the Squig, so it's not like you can really have him battling the Space Marine. So that's a bit of a bummer. And here is a Tau. Tau is sorely outmatched here on his own. He needs some backup because he's very small. Be eaten by the Squig in one gulp. And here is Master Chief, the 1000 Toys Master Chief. Master Chief looks like he could take both of them easily because he's quite large. Actually, can I make Chief ride? Come on, Chief. Yeah. That's kind of hilarious. Not the best pose ever, but some fiddling would make that work out pretty well. But yeah, he is much larger. This guy's not 1/18th scale, so I don't really know how he would stack up if he was, but that's a bit of an interesting comparison. And then for a scale that a lot of you guys might be familiar with, that is the Black Series 332nd Trooper. So yeah, this guy is pretty large, and the Squig is even larger. So let's go ahead and take a closer look, starting with the Squig. So the overall paint work on this guy is pretty good. There's like a white on the bottom, which doesn't look totally purposeful, but it also does. I think it could have been done a little better. A lot of detailing. We have, I guess this is like a skull or something. He's got a big head plate. Looks like he would bash stuff. Lots of nice detailing all around. The little eyes are very beady and evil looking. Got some teeth. There's nice sculpting throughout. And he's got this like tube here, and then yeah, his skin is kind of ripped here and you see metal, so it looks like he's kind of steampunkified with these machinery bits in him. The saddle looks pretty nice. This handle can move back and forth. It's kind of weird. It's like stuck directly in him, but I guess that's how the Orks do things. Again, I'm not really sure how to get the Ork himself to hold that, but I guess we'll find out. And then there's this little piece. This is the little evil snake that I pointed out before. It just kind of pegs on here, and it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I guess that's kind of his standard for riding into battle. Articulation-wise, there's a lot of really useless articulation, like the tail. You can rotate it a little bit. Really not helpful, or there's just no real point to that. And then the head, the most useful posing you can get out of the head is twisting this. But up and down is like nothing, and then side to side is like nothing. Don't really know why they even went out of their way to make a joint there. There's also no jaw. Kind of weird. Very, very weird. The legs have two joints, so you can bend it forward and back like this, and then forward and back like that. They're fairly stiff, which is good. The ankle can go back about that far and forward about that far, so you can get some walking poses. He stands up surprisingly well, too. Like, that's only on one leg. There's also a bit of a swivel. The thigh is like a ball joint, so you can bend it like that and like that. And then you can also swivel forward and back. It's rather stiff. Again, probably needs to be, but if you're not careful, I don't know, that could be a problem. But yeah, he's a very interesting piece. Very much makes me think of a Blurg from The Mandalorian, but if a Blurg was evil and steampunk. As a figure for posing, though, not a ton to do here. This is mostly one that you will use on display instead of, you know, fiddling around with him. Not a ton you can do. He just looks nice. Also, he's very heavy. Like, his main body feels like solid plastic all the way through. I mean, if somebody broke into my house at night and I picked this up and smacked them with it, they would be out. Yeah. So I guess that's a plus. You can use this as a home defense weapon. And this guy, I guess his name is Nob, Squighog Nob. He is pretty much, I guess, a standard orc for the most part. Again, not really much into the lore of Warhammer. I know little bits, but he looks like a standard one. Like, there's the commando ones. This guy does not look like a commando. He looks like a standard orc. He is pretty limited in articulation as well, but I'm not as opposed to it as I thought I would be, purely because he's an orc. He's going to be lumbering around, shooting and smashing things, not Spider-Manning across, you know, the cityscape. So I'm not too worried about it. But he can kind of forward like that much. His knee is a very, very small bend. You can barely get anything out of that. Outward movement a little bit. The best articulation you'll see on here is the ankle. The ankle is absolutely fantastic. You can get whatever you want out of that. And there's a toe hinge. I personally think toe hinges are stupid, but action figure companies seem to like them. And then the torso has movement, a little bit of crunch forward and back, tiny bit side to side, some swivel. It's actually kind of funny. You can easily swivel it so that the abs are misaligned with the front, just because of the way these are kind of free-floating parts, especially the groin section. It's free-floating, so you can kind of move it all around. His head is pretty well done. I've heard people say it doesn't have as much expression as the Commando Orks, and maybe it doesn't. On the packaging and stuff, it looks more bland, but in person, it's pretty nice. It's got some detailing. He's got evil-looking eyes. Basically, whatever you would want to see in an orc, he's got it. He's got this little earring, which is the one that is easily broken. He's wearing some sort of a cloak made out of a bear or something. He's got claws. Maybe it's one of the wolves, the Space Marine wolves. Got a big panel here, spikes or teeth. That looks pretty cool. His boots have a very nice finish. The arms cannot move outward very far. He's got such bulky, fat forearms, or not forearms, upper arms, that you can't really go much out. You can rotate, though. And this side has a pipe, which I was worried this was going to be too thick to really move, but it's pretty soft, and you can still get him into some good poses. It's kind of stiff. The shoulders are kind of stiff. The elbow bend is nice on this side. Totally ugly looking, but it works. You can see like that. But yeah, it's very ugly. It's one of the ugliest elbow joints I've seen. The swivel is nice, but it's a little loose, especially for this big, heavy weapon. The wrist is just a double ball joint. As you can see, it just popped off pretty easily. And yeah, this is a heavy weapon, so popping that off is easy. He's got some McCree-looking stuff for this arm. He's got, like, kind of gross, like ripped skin just pinned on there, and then the tube is, like, plugged into his back. The arm looks fantastic, though. So cool. Very, very steampunk. It has a swivel at the elbow instead of the actual bicep, just because of the way the bicep is molded. And then the hand is also on a ball joint, and he can hold his big flare gun-looking pistol in that hand. The bend is still pretty nice for being a single joint. There are no extra hands for this guy, so you are confined to him using the gun on this side and his saw thingamajiggy on this hand, which is pretty nice looking. So let me actually zoom in. This is a very brutal looking weapon, also very steampunk-ish, kind of Borderlands-esque, and it's got like multiple saws. I don't know how these saws don't interfere with each other, but it's got a pretty nice dirty finish. You can hold it like that, or he could hold it like a tonfa. Whoa, buddy, come back. Here's the box. They also suggest you have him hold it like that, so that's a thing you can do as well. Pretty interesting. It's a good weapon for fighting against the Space Marines with their chain swords and other swords, but it is heavy, and his wrist and bicep swivel aren't loving this. I probably can tighten that up, but it's just not what you want to see right out of the package. The gun is pretty cool as well. It also is giving me kind of McCree vibes. It's got the revolver look, but it's kind of chubby. Pretty cool, and you can see the robotic arm a little closer now. Nice. And there is that head. The head is pretty limited. You can swivel it a little up and down. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, it's on a double ball. Okay. So if you utilize the double ball, you can actually get more poses out of it than it first would appear. So yeah, I think that's as many posing options for the head as you would want on a fat, muscly orc that's lumbering around shooting things. Let's try mounting this dude up here. I guess, yeah, we kind of hook his boots onto this, or does he stand on those? Maybe he stands kind of like that on there. His legs don't go outward quite enough. Let me just check the box to see how they have him posed. Oh, they have him posed with his legs a little farther forward, so let me do like he's actually sitting. Kind of a pain, but you can get him up there. He would obviously want to hold that, but at the same time, I, again, don't really know how to do that properly. But yeah, he gets up there. It's very precarious. Probably also need a... There we go. That's less precarious. Yeah, he can ride. And he won't fall off too easily. Again, if he's holding this, it'd probably be easier. But I just don't know how to do that. It'd be such a pain. But yeah, that is a thing you can do. He can ride into battle on that thing. I don't really know how these things fight, but in movies, a lot of times the horses get shot down really quick. Maybe this would do the same. Or maybe it would be like a blurg and just like never die until the end of the season. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's a pretty formidable thing for a Space Marine to be going up against. Put on a pretty good battle, and you could make a pretty epic display with that. Well, there you have it. That is the Squighog Nob on Smasha Squig. So I gotta say, this is probably not the thing that a new collector would want to buy necessarily, or like a newbie to Warhammer 40K in general. This to me feels like the sort of thing that is for the people that have been in it for a little bit, don't mind spending $100+ on a set like this, and want some more standard looking orcs to fight against their Imperial soldiers. So with that in mind, I would say if you are looking for some orcs, then this would be probably the thing to get. I know the commando orcs can be pretty expensive, and they are also very specialized. This guy is a fairly generic looking orc, and you know the Squig also is fairly generic. If you decided to army build this, you could. I don't know why you would want to, because this is expensive. Like I said, it's around, I think the cheapest I've seen is like 80 something if you're really, really lucky. 100 is typically what I've seen, and then like 120 is what I see on like Big Bad Toy Store and whatnot. So it's hefty price, and like I said, I wouldn't recommend this to a newcomer. If you're a newcomer to the JoyToy Warhammer line, definitely you want to go for something like a Space Marine Intercessor or whatnot. But once you've got a handful of those, you're obviously going to want some villains for them to fight against. So getting this makes for a nice battle. I'm actually fairly curious to see how taking photos of a battle will turn out. This, I don't really know how I'm going to take photos of this. It's very big and not very posable. But the orc, I think I can get some pretty good battle scenes with these guys, or even with the Tau and the orc. So I think that's a good pairing. I just would love to see this guy or something similar, some generic looking orc released as a single pack, because I don't know that everybody's going to want to get the big Squig along with it. So yeah, I can't recommend this for everybody. It is big, it is expensive, but it looks pretty cool on display. And if you want an evil blurg and you happen to have a Mandalorian figure, that would be kind of funny to put that on display. So yeah, great way to get a generic looking orc. A lot of money to get a generic looking orc. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.